Thanks for joining us for this episode. If you recall, Signal Chat is all things technology and IT, 4 questions, 40 minutes. Hopefully, this educates, entertains, and gives folks something to think about. So, with that, today we have an interesting guest. I met this gentleman at a recent App Direct event that they were hosting in Boston. He was actually our team coach, so it was great that I got to sit next to him and learn about what Andy Potts does there at App Direct. Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Chuck, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So yeah, so like I said, Andy was our coach for our team. I'm not sure how we ended up, but overall, it was great to meet Andy. And Andy is in a part of App Direct that is quite new to me. It's utilities and utility management. It's something that I really didn't put much thought into until I got the opportunity to sit with Andy and talk to him. And so Andy's here to give an overview of that utility management side. So before we start, Andy, why don't you just give a background on yourself and what you do, and then we'll get into some questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Chuck. So, again, my name is Andy Potts. I am the Senior Product Sales Specialist for App Direct on the energy solutions side. Been with App Direct now for 5 years. Hard to believe, but just had my 5-year anniversary back in April. My story to come to App Direct is a little bit unique. I've spent my entire professional career in the energy world. Graduated as school in '97, hopped right into the energy side of the business and the energy world. But my journey to App Direct was a little bit unique. I'd spent over 20 plus years working for a global energy consulting firm, helping very, very large industrial manufacturing type customers manage to energy prices like electricity and natural gas that they use inside all their operations.
Okay.
These are firms that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on energy because energy is a very critical component of their operating expense, right? So I was helping these control and manage their risk to energy prices because energy prices they're volatile, they're constantly moving for a variety of reasons. And so when you're a big operator, you kind of need to know what costs are going to be. That's very important to profitability, right? In addition to kind of helping those type of customers with their energy risk management, we were also working with them to help identify, solutions that they could be deploying inside their operations to help lower their consumption of energy, right? Again, because
Right.
energy is so paramount to their success and profitability. Enjoyed doing that. It was great. I loved it, but I was trying to just kind of get to that point. I think I had my COVID moment, if you will. Can I be taking my very unique skill set and applying it in a little bit of a different way? And that's when I came across App Direct and kind of learned that they were in the process of trying to build out this energy utility division inside
Hmm.
the organization. And it was a little bit unique for me because I started to realize that with the way that App Direct approaches the channel and understanding how the channel works, and understanding that there are effectively technology advisors, consultants, whatnot, that are working with all types of different customers, all different shapes and sizes, from smaller organizations, mom and pop shops, to you know somewhat larger type enterprise environments. I realized quickly that all these customers out there, they don't have someone like me to kind of
Hmm.
help them navigate the energy world, right? They just don't use enough energy to warrant a large energy consulting firm like my old employer to help them on their energy path and their energy journey, which to me was a little bit unique. Understanding that the energy world in the United States was starting to change pretty dramatically, it kind of led me to believe that maybe I could be positioning myself and my skill set a little bit differently to try and help these customers that have never really looked at energy before, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was an opportunity to kind of shift my personal and professional growth to doing something a little bit differently, but approaching it in a way that was going to be challenging for me to get myself established, challenging for me to help App Direct kind of complete this vision where they thought energy was going to be a unique way for them to provide more value to their advisors who can provide more value to their customers. So it was kind of a leap of faith a little bit right now, but without question, it was an awesome move for me. The App Direct energy universe, if you will, continues to grow. We've acquired some energy businesses along the way, and it has really just kind of proven out that the concept that our technology advisors can now start having these conversations about energy with their customers. It's just a great way for our advisors to provide more value and realize that, hey, you need to be working with these customers on this very important thing that is
Mhm.
energy now in the United States. And that's just been an awesome experience. So my path to DAP Direct was a little bit unique, but here we are today. And again, it's one of those things that every technology advisor I talk to start to have these conversations with their customers. And one of their biggest pain points is energy, and they just don't know what to do. Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels pretty cool about being part of a solution, if you will, that we can bring to these customers.
So why do you think why do you think enterprises or your customers, I mean, they must be paying attention to the bill, right? They must be looking at the bill and saying, "Oh my gosh, we spend a lot of money," but is it that they don't know what to do at that point, or like from your experience, what kind of holds them back?
Honestly, it is they don't have anybody giving them direction, right?
Okay.
And to your point, what you just said there, it's very much true. Is they just don't know what to do, right?
Okay.
Energy has always been a utility that kind of gets rubber stamped, right? You got to
Yeah.
pay it, otherwise they turn the lights off, right? Pretty important. But
Yeah.
no one really
Yeah.
is going behind the scenes and realizing, can you do energy better? Are there solutions that you can deploy to reduce your consumption, better control your cost? It just hasn't been a big focus. And granted, energy looking back historically, has not been super expensive, for a lot of businesses, right? It's a
Mhm.
necessary evil. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But because energy prices have started to rise so dramatically, it's becoming a conversation, or it's becoming a situation they can no longer afford to just gloss over and pretend it
Right.
is what it is. No, the answer is it's not is what it is. You need to be kind of doing things better. You need to be figuring out ways to better control this cost, lower this cost, because it's now impacting your profitability and your operations, right? So it's kind of one of those things where now people are starting to realize that they need to do something, but they don't know what to do. They
Mhm.
don't know who to turn to. They don't know what solutions make sense, which ones don't. So they're really looking for a guide, right? I,
Yeah.
I, I often call myself kind of the energy Sherpa. It's kind of like, hey, I'm going to help you kind of guide your way into
Yeah.
figure out what solutions make sense for you, Mr. Customer, and why.
That's interesting because it does get rubber stamped, right? I mean, I mean, they got you, right? You can't not pay that invoice. And
It
you really don't have much flexibility. It's not like, well, we didn't pay our wireless bill for 3 months and we still have service, right? It's
Yep.
you don't pay the bill for a month and all of a sudden the lights start flickering or the water stops working, you know?
Exactly. They have a very captive audience in that
Yeah.
regard, right? And and with energy prices, really starting to, excel, grow higher, variety of reasons going on that's making that happen. Again, it's just one of those things where you can't, continue to kick the can down the street, or you can't duck your head in the sand. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm a business owner. I need to look at this, figuring out my plan, and trying to determine what my energy future strategy is going to be, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, a lot of stuff specifically in the United States that is really just driving this energy conversation, and a lot of it for end use customers is not good.
Right. Yeah, no, no. I mean, we all see it in our own homes, right? In our own utility bill. So one of the things that we had talked about was the deregulated versus regulated market. Can you kind of give an overview of what that means and how that applies to strategies?
Absolutely. And it's kind of funny. So, being my background, it is what it is. I've been familiar with energy deregulation since basically it started, right? But coming into this situation, realizing that a lot of people out there don't know what this is,
Yeah.
right? So, in a deregulated market environment, you as the customer have the ability to control the price of energy that you're using. Okay?
Okay.
You have a utility. Utility is designed to deliver you the molecules of energy, whether or not it's electricity over their transmission and distribution lines, or whether that's natural gas through all their pipes, right?
Okay.
The utility acts as two different functions. Is they go out in the wholesale market and they buy energy, electricity, natural gas, and then they distribute that gas to the end use customer. When a utility has to go out and purchase gas on the open market, they're exposed to whatever the prices are, right? If energy prices are high and they're buying high, expensive, priced electricity, natural gas, they're turning it around and they are passing that cost on to you as the customer. Utilities don't make money on the commodity or supply portion of their energy purchases. It's a pass through for them. They make money on the
Okay.
distribution of those molecules. But as in a deregulated market, you can kind of take the utility out of the equation for the supply piece. You can work with a retail energy supplier who will purchase the electricity, natural gas on the open market on your behalf and deliver that power to the utility. So now you have a
Okay.
way as an end use customer to control a big portion of your overall energy expense. Because when you look at a utility invoice, half your energy costs are for the supply, about half your energy costs are for the distribution, right? So now
Okay.
you have a way to control one of the most volatile components of your energy cost through a deregulated contract. For someone who's familiar with this concept, it's kind of like long distance, old school long distance, right? Where you are able to control the price of minutes that you pay
Hmm.
by shopping at your rates around different providers, right?
Right.
So now
Right.
you have a
Right.
way to shop for the best cost of the supply that you can get, but now you can also engage into a contract where you can control the cost over a certain period of time. Deregulated energy contracts typically range from anywhere from 12 to 60 months. And what a lot of people don't realize is that
Hmm.
energy is forward looking, meaning that energy commodity markets have futures markets, right? I can tell you what the value of electricity and natural gas looks like going out 4 or 5 years into the future as of today. What is that value worth today? So for a customer who's looking to control their expenses by engaging in a deregulated contract, you can lock the cost of your supply in for a set period of time. So now you are taking out the risk the market movement could cause driving prices higher, right? So it's
Really?
like a mortgage, right? When you lock into a 30-year fix, for example, you know what your mortgage payment's going to
Yeah.
be, right? Your interest rate's kind of fixed. It's controlled. There are no surprises. When you're floating a arm or something like that on your mortgage side and interest rates go up, what happens?
Bad
your,
news.
your, your costs go up. Bad news, right? So
Yeah.
the same concept applies here. So now we're taking this unknown cost, we're making it a known cost and predictable cost for a set period of time.
How often? How often can an enterprise change that, or is it like you literally have to do it in the beginning of the year and say I want to be in the deregulated market versus the?
Nope. You can choose at any point in time, right? So we call it default supply, right? So when you
Okay.
continue to buy your electricity or natural gas from your utility under a
Right.
default, you can switch over by the next billing cycle, right? So you don't have to set a specific date during the year to make the transition. You just have to give the utility, or the retail supplier has to give the utility enough notice that they're taking over your account, and then they start serving it. Now you'll be with that retail supplier for the duration of the contract length. And again,
Right.
contract lengths can be 12 to 60 months, anywhere in between those kind of main short contract, long contract term points. But yeah, it's a great way for customers that can take this unknown expense, make it a known, protect their budgets, better
Hmm.
control their energy costs. Now, there's always going to be fluctuations, right? Depending on how much energy you use. I mean, if you double your energy consumption in one year and you have a
Right.
retail contract, does that mean it's not going to, make sure that your unit cost for the supply is going to remain the same, but your overall energy costs will go up. That's why we like to focus on the commodity piece and the usage and distribution piece, right? Because if we can deploy solutions to help reduce consumption while at the same time controlling costs with a commodity contract, then that's a win-win, right? That's a customer
Yeah.
who's now thinking, I am now taking a more proactive approach to controlling and managing my energy expenses.
It's interesting. It is.
It
I mean,
is.
it's almost like changing your telecom rates every single month.
It is exactly,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the gist of it. It's very simple to do, very easy. It's very transactional. All
Hmm.
the work is done behind the scenes between the utility and the retail supplier. You as a customer, you won't even notice a change. What you'll see is a line item change on your existing utility invoice. That's a little bit different than before.
Okay.
That's it. There's no stop in operations. There's no nothing, right? So it's a very easy
That's
transactional
cool.
thing to do. And again, a lot of customers just don't know they have this choice or this option.
Hmm.
Now, the tricky thing with deregulation for energy is you can't do it everywhere, right? That's kind of
Yeah,
a
that's what I was going to
nuance
ask you.
where a traditional, like, with wireless, you can do it in all 50 states. You can choose
Yeah.
between carriers, right?
Yeah.
Energy deregulation is a little bit differently because different states have different regulations to determine, can you actively participate in a deregulation program or not, right? So if
Okay.
you were to take a map of the United States and look, you would see, like, for example, electricity. Electricity is the most common and it's the largest typically energy expense for all customers, right? Because everybody uses electricity for everything,
Yep.
right?
100%.
But
Yep.
there are really only like 18 states in the United States that are open for competition, right? So which means that if you're in a market area of the country that's open for competition, like say New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois, Ohio, those markets, you would have choice. But if you're in a state like I am in North Carolina, we can't do it. State does not
Right.
allow the deregulation of electricity in the state of North Carolina, right? Now, that doesn't mean we can't help you. It just means we have
Okay.
to take one solution, the energy procurement, so we call it energy procurement solution, off the table and focus on what can we do to help reduce consumption of electricity inside a building environment.
So in a so a company that has multiple locations, right? And they're going to have deregulated, regulated, you're going to see a bigger benefit. Well, I guess would you see a bigger benefit on the deregulated side versus the regulated side?
I think you would see a benefit in terms you have another solution that's available to you, right?
Okay. Okay.
And that regulated environment, yeah, there's nothing that anybody can do to control the cost. The utility is going to continue to charge however they charge. If they want to raise their rates 20, 30, 40, 50%, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But that's why we like to kind of mirror the two together. It's like, hey, listen, if we can control the price of energy on the supply side through a deregulated contract, great. But I also want to focus on the distribution end to figure out how we can better control these expenses by helping you use less energy.
So that's actually an interesting concept. But again, you and I were talking before we got on here, and actually we talked about this too when we were in Boston. Like I traveled to Europe and other places, and it's amazing. You kind of go into their hotels, and you got to stick your key in the
Yeah.
little thing near the wall, which which basically means because we all kind of leave our stuff running when we leave the room, right? TV's on, lights on, air conditions on, everything's running. But in Europe and a lot of other places outside of here, you pull your key out of there because you got to take your key with you. Everything shuts down,
Yep.
and you come back in and you turn everything on. So talk about some of the solutions. And I know you and I talked about one that was interesting. It was a car wash, which I was like,
Mm-hmm.
never really thought about the amount of water that a car wash uses. But
Right.
then you and I talked about it. So talk about some of those examples where technology actually comes in and is the play. So in a regulated market where they can't maybe buy a cheaper rate, that they're going to use technology. Can you just give some examples of what you've seen and maybe what you've done and deployed and what were the results?
Yeah, that's kind of half the fun of my job, Chuck, is educating customers on new technologies that maybe
Okay.
they haven't heard of before that are all designed to what I call attacking energy, right? So, from an electricity standpoint, one of the solutions that we see a lot, that we get deployed a lot, is a solution called a harmonic filter, right?
Okay.
I love to ask this question, right? It's like I ask anybody I'm talking to, customers, advisors, doesn't matter. I'm like, do you know what a harmonic filter is, or do you know what harmonics are in your energy supply?
No.
99.9% of the people are gonna be like, dude, I have no clue what that is,
I
right?
know what a harmonica is, but not, you know,
Not harmonics in the energy supply, right?
not at all.
So picture this: every utility delivers power, electricity to a building the same way, right?
Okay.
Power goes across your transmission and distribution lines, goes into the customer's building. Customer then uses that electricity based on all the equipment they're running, right? Computer servers, routers, lighting, doesn't matter. Whatever's consuming electricity, that flow is utility to the equipment. When a utility delivers power into a building,
Hmm.
the power is coming across those transmission and distribution lines in what's known as an alternating current, AC. But every piece of equipment that is using electricity is converting that alternating current into a direct current, DC, AC to DC, just like the band. When
Okay.
the conversion of alternating current to direct current occurs, harmonic noise is now created in your energy supply. Harmonic noise is nothing more than wasted energy that A, you do not need, and B, it's actually very detrimental to the equipment that is running that energy, right? That's using that energy to do whatever it does. So the harmonic filter with our partner Tune Energy, these harmonic filters were actually created in the data center world, right? So
Really?
the owners of and founders of Tune operated data centers, and they knew the impacts that harmonic noise was having in unnecessarily heating up their millions of dollars pieces of equipment inside of a data center and causing that equipment to short out sooner than it should, right? Harmonics,
Hmm.
Any electrician or any engineer will tell you heat equals death inside of equipment, right? It's not good for it.
Yeah, it's not good.
So they were looking to develop a solution to eliminate the harmonic noise, to elongate the lifespan of that equipment. It was a maintenance type of solution. What they didn't realize at the time, though, is that by eliminating the harmonic noise, yes, they can elongate the lifespan of their equipment. They can cut down on their operation and maintenance expenses. That's a win. What they didn't realize at the time, though, is that when you eliminate the harmonics, you also decrease the amount of electricity required to run that equipment.
Hmm.
That's when they quickly realized that, holy smokes, this can be commercially applied to any customer that exists out there because this is
Oh,
happening to
wow.
every customer, right? So they quickly got out of the data center business, got into the harmonic filter business, right? So now we have a solution that can help customers reduce their electricity consumption, usually anywhere from 10 to 20%, all by attacking a problem that customers don't even know they have to begin with, right? So again, taking this
Wow.
new technology, educating customers on what this technology does and what the end result is, which is a reduction in the electricity consumption. So again, that goes to the part of our conversation, which is like getting people to understand there are solutions out there that you can deploy to help you combat higher energy prices because now you're attacking the consumption, right?
Hmm.
Anything we can do to help customers use less energy is a win, right? So now we're taking a new technology and applying it and attacking a problem like this. So pretty cool stuff. Now, I love the harmonic
Crazy.
filter because we can do it anywhere. I mean, I could be anywhere in the United States. You're not limited on deregulated or regulated. We can do it in all 50
Okay.
states. We are doing deals in Mexico. We are doing deals in the Caribbean. We're doing deals in Canada. We're looking in South America, right? I mean, it doesn't matter.
What is it?
Electricity works the same way
What does
everywhere.
it look like? That harmonic filter. What is it actually?
So it is a little bit bigger than a cell phone. And
Okay.
what it does is it installs inside your electric subpanels, right? It installs
Okay.
on what's known as the neutral bus bar of the electricity subpanel, which is kind of cool because it's passive in nature, which means it's not using energy to save energy.
So the line comes into your building, into your panel box there, and you're saying that harmonic filter sits in between there before that energy is passed into your
So
office building.
what it does is as electricity comes into the building, goes into the subpanels, and the subpanels diverting that electricity around to all the equipment, you kind of have this loop, if you will, power
Hmm.
going into the subpanel, into the equipment, back into the subpanel again, right? It's a
Yep.
continuous motion. So what we're doing is by installing inside the subpanel, we're now blocking the harmonics that are created. We're basically filtering the electricity, right? So as the
Oh,
electricity
wow.
cycle continues to go, we are eliminating the harmonics that are now hitting the equipment.
So there's nothing other than that piece of equipment that's needed. As long wherever you have a sub panel, basically, is where you're
Yep.
saying. What
So
about in a
whenever you have
building
electric
that
sub
has?
panels, we do that. Yep.
What about in a building that has like multi tenants? So maybe I'm just a tenant on a floor in a tower.
So typically in that type of environment, if you are like I said in an apartment complex or like a hotel is a great example. Is that anytime of the main sub panels is what we're hitting on, right? So we're not going
Okay.
inside the individual tenant apartments. So when
Right.
we're dealing with like apartment complexes and everything, we're helping those complex owners who have common areas and everything that they're responsible for. We're helping those customers. Now, Tune does have a residential version of this harmonic filter, but we typically are staying out of the residential business.
Yeah, I was thinking more like you take somewhere like Manhattan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could have 60-story building,
Yep.
but a company only occupies one or two floors of that building and they're responsible to pay for their portion of the utility.
Typically, they're going to have their own sub panel, which is great.
Okay. Okay.
Now, the cool thing here is that because the harmonic filter, it's not a I like solar. I love solar death. Don't get me wrong, right? I love like these bigger energy efficiency type solutions, but a lot of them are deemed structural changes to the building. And when you're a tenant, you don't have
Mm,
the ability or
yeah.
the authority to make a structural change to the building. But installing a harmonic filter into your subpanel, that's not a structural change. That's something you can install and uninstall if you leave, right? So for any customers who have been hamstrung about doing energy efficiency because they do not have the authority to make those types of decisions, now we have a solution that they can do and benefit from because you can install it and take it if you leave.
Wow. That's actually pretty wild. I mean,
It's
again,
pretty
you
cool.
wouldn't, and you're saying 10 to 20% per month as a
Yep.
reduction just because you're eliminating wasted,
Yeah.
you know,
You are eliminating what literally is wasted energy. Now, again, that's the hard dollar savings. The soft dollar savings is really it can be very beneficial in terms of the long longer term maintenance and life cycle of said equipment, right? We do a lot of like
yeah,
restaurant works, for example, right? A lot of quick service restaurants, and thinks about like take a we call the QSR world. Think about all the different fryers and lights and ovens, everything that's tied to it, right? Use a lot of electricity typically. You
yeah.
know, we can, because by eliminating the harmonic noise, we can physically elongate the lifespan of these equipment. I think there's some case studies with Tune working with McDonald's where they've seen a 25% maintenance reduction on their equipment because they've
Oh,
eliminated the harmonic noise, right? So I mean that's
that's
really good soft
crazy.
dollar savings.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, whether or not it's a grow facility that has the specialized LED lighting, these
Yeah.
lights $1,000 a piece, eliminating the harmonic noise that causes these lights to burn out faster than that. Who's done some great work with these grow facilities where they've saved thousands of dollars on replacement stuff. Yeah, the energy reduction is nice, and the reduction in terms of the cost is nice, but the maintenance improvement usurps that cost, right? So a
Well,
lot
yeah.
of good soft dollar savings. And again, this all goes to stuff people just they're not thinking about, right?
Yeah.
They don't know, they don't think about it until we're able to kind of shine that light on them and be like, hey, listen, you should really be looking at this. So,
Well, there's also the downstream part of it too. I mean, because what you just said, like about light bulbs or certain
mhm,
things, you know, you got to bring in the maintenance people. You got to change out stuff. There's time, and time costs money, and
yep,
so if you can elongate that stuff, or increase the lifespan of it, it just has this entire downstream effect of reducing cost from a you're right, from a soft cost perspective. But how many companies actually sit back and go, geez, how much money do we spend every year on replacing light bulbs? Most of them don't.
yep,
But now what you're saying is you're just putting this passive piece of equipment that is going to start driving probably that direction, right? So if you start seeing that cost reduction, so I see it like on the telecom side, right? So once a company starts seeing reduction, they get excited about it, and they're like, hey, let's do some more of this, let's do some
right.
more of it, let's try this, let's try that. So I kind of think of the same thing, right? And maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but once a customer sees that initial reduction, it then, I would think, fosters that, well, let's try something else. Hey, let's call this guy Andy and see, maybe there's something else that we
Maybe
could
there's
be doing.
something else we could do. And that's kind of what I like to do, Chuck, is like, hey, listen, I don't try to boil the ocean with customers. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that we have, different
Yeah.
energy solutions that we could be deploying. But let's start. Let's get some early wins, and then let's build upon that success. Because you're right, as customers start to realize that, hey, what else can you do? What else can we be
Yeah.
looking at?
Yeah.
What other solutions can we deploy? Maybe we start getting into some more what I call advanced solutions, right? We're talking about battery storage or on-site solar or a lot of, maybe they're larger ticket items,
Mhm.
but we've started the conversation now because they've seen the results. The cool thing about Tune also, the harmonic filters, comes with a money back guarantee.
Oh, wow.
Again, one of those
That's
things that we
crazy.
like to talk to customers, talk about, hey, your financial risk is low,
Yep.
your
Well, it's got to pay
potential
for
savings and
itself.
everything is high. Right. Yeah. Oh.
So I know we did talk about a car wash,
Mhm.
and you mentioned that. Can you kind of just give an overview of that? Because I found that, again, you drive through a car wash, you really don't think about it, but now when I drive through a car wash, I think, how much water did they just use?
Yeah, I mean, so while we have the Tune Harmonic filter to kind of help on the electricity side, we also have
Hmm.
water optimization products on the water side. And I love water. Water is almost a forgotten utility. You talk to customers who are
Right.
actually engaged on their energy utilities, and maybe they're hyper focused on electricity or natural gas or things like that. Man, water they skip over. Why? They make a natural assumption is that there's nothing you can do about water,
Hmm.
or we've done everything that we can from a water perspective, and it is what it is. No.
Yeah.
I always like to use a hotel in this example because I think it explains it a little bit better. When you talk to a hotel owner, and you ask, what are you doing from a water conservation standpoint? They're going to give you a lot of the same canned answers,
Yeah.
right? They're going to, oh, we changed out and we now more efficient shower heads, or we have low flush toilets, We're making sure our irrigation lines that are watering properties aren't running 24/7, 365. If you stay at a lot of hotels like I have, they're asking you to recycle the towels, right? Please do not ask for new towels on a daily basis. We're trying to be more
Right.
sustainable. Yada, yada, decreases the wash load. All when you look at these solutions, I mean, they're good solutions, and yes, they can have an impact on decreasing your water consumption. But that's not where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, because with those solutions, you're attacking your water after your water's already in your building. What a lot of people don't realize is that if you attack the water as it's going into your building, you
Okay.
can physically reduce your metered water consumption by over 30+% without impacting the pressure levels of how water is being used inside the property, right? People don't know just how inefficient the delivery of water is going into a building, right? It's in a pipe. You can't see it, right? So you
Right.
make this natural assumption that it's this nice, smooth, steady flow all the time. Man, it is anything but. It is extremely volatile and violent. You've got a lot of different pressure imbalances between the utility, how the utility is pushing water throughout their system that are occurring, and then pressure balances that are occurring on the customer side based on how water is being used at any point in time. So this water is just constantly sloshing inside your pipelines all day, every day. Your water meter kind of acts as that line of demarcation between the utility side and the private side, the customer side.
Hmm.
As water continues to go over the water meter, your water meter makes this natural assumption that you're using it. Got to be using it, right? When the reality is
Right.
you're not using a good chunk of it. Instead, you are now getting billed for water you're not consuming.
What?
Yep. And then as waters continue to kind of violently flow inside the pipeline, you're also creating excess air in that water. So now you're getting billed for air as well, right? So by
Wait a second.
yep,
Hang on. So in my house, I'm assuming I only get charged for the water when I turn on a spigot, and that water is running, right? But what you're saying is, like right now, no water is running in my house. There's no washing machine, and I work from my house, so people are like, "Well, what are you talking about? You're at home." So there's no faucets on, nobody in the shower, no water is quote unquote running. But you're saying we still get billed?
absolutely, because water continues to flow over back in and forth inside your pipelines all day, every day, right? So yeah, you are now getting billed,
Really?
even though you're not really using the water. You're
Yeah.
still getting billed because your water is, again, it's not really a fault of the utility because that's how they're designed and they operate, but that's just the reality of it. So
Oh
by
my god.
installing a solution on the customer side of the property that now takes
Hmm.
this uncontrolled flow of water and makes it a very controlled flow of water, meaning now you're only drawing water when you're actually using it.
Yeah. Right.
We
Right.
can reduce your metered water consumption by over 30%. Here's the best part as well.
That
In
is
addition to reducing
crazy.
your metered water consumption by 30+%, you also have to figure water's got to go somewhere.
Sure.
Sewer.
Yeah.
Your sewer charges are determined based on what your water meter says you use. So if it says you use 100,000 gallons of water, you get charged for 100,000 gallons of water, but you also get charged for 100,000 gallons of sewer disposal as well. So if you're reducing your metered water consumption on the front end, you're also reducing your metered sewer on the back end. And sewer charges can be sometimes 2 to 3, 4 times more expensive than the water itself.
Where does the sewer charge come in? On your water bill?
Yeah, again, a lot of people
Really?
aren't paying attention. People don't look at
Never
their
even.
utilities. You've never really
No, I
looked
got the
at
water
their
bill.
utilities. You don't look at your utilities because it is what it is. It's a necessary evil. You got to pay it. But you've never really taken the time to look at your invoices and
No.
realize that, hey, you have a water charge and you have a sewer charge.
I never. I mean, we have a pool, so like, I just noticed like my bill for last month was higher because we had to fill the
You got to
pool
fill
up
the
after
pool.
we opened
Yeah.
up, and I now I want to look at the sewer charge because if they're making that assumption that well they use this, well none of that water went anywhere other than inside a 27,000 gallon pool, so that is so from a company standpoint, yeah, like that car wash
So yeah,
example,
a car wash
like
example. Like I said, car washes they use a lot of water, right? Because
yeah,
that's kind of their bread and butter, right? So
need
for
it,
a car
yeah,
wash that is now using, maybe it's $10,000 a month, okay, which is not insignificant.
oh
But if you're spending $10,000 a month for water and sewer, and then you realize quickly that now we can reduce that maybe to $7,000 a month, all without impacting pressure levels. That's the key, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well,
yeah, yeah,
water's
yeah.
just gonna dribble out. You're doing some sort of pressure reduction. Nope, nope. We're maintaining the exact same pressure levels.
That is
So
just,
now we are not degrading the customer experience, but we're just improving an inefficiency that people don't even know exists.
yeah, that is crazy. That is like,
Again, people just don't.
I
They're
think
not paying
everybody
attention.
listening is going to start looking at their water bill going, what the hell? Like,
As they
what's
should. And
going
I
on
think that
here?
if people ask, people complain about electricity prices and stuff going up.
Yeah.
Water. Water is one of the highest rising commodities. The infrastructure is getting old for utilities, so it means they have to upgrade that. You get things like now data centers that are coming in left and right, and data centers consume a lot of water. So you
Hmm.
get a lot of strain on these utility grids as well, water and electricity, right? So again, this all ties into that you as an end use customer can be doing energy smarter and better if you spend the time to learn about solutions that can overall improve your energy experience.
That is, that is crazy. Man, I think a lot of people are going to start looking at their bills a little differently after listening to this one.
Well,
Holy
again,
cow.
and if you're a technology advisor and you're talking to your customers and you're looking for ways to help drive savings, energy can be a great way to do
Yeah.
that, right? And speaking of a technology advisor, your job, historically has been, kind of work with these customers and all their telecom needs, whether or not it's
Right.
networking, telecom, whatever it might be, right? A lot of times these solutions that you're trying to deploy, I mean, they cost, right? So
Right.
maybe there's an opportunity to find savings on the energy side that can pay for these solutions that you're
Yeah.
working with your customer on. Again,
That's,
because no one's looking at the energy stuff, so maybe this is an opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone for your customers.
yeah. Well, no, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, you're talking about finding savings in places where folks probably haven't thought about.
Haven't thought about it and aren't looking.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are coming up on time. We did cover quite a bit, and I think it's fascinating. Honestly, Andy. I mean, just a couple of things that we talked about: the harmonic, solution, and
Mm-hmm.
then the water. Those two alone, I mean, it should make every enterprise want to have a conversation. If
I
nothing
agree.
else, just to see where they are. If
Sure.
nothing else, let's just take a test. Let's see where we are because there's only upside to it, right?
Yep.
Utilities is not like telecom. You can't just shut it down. You always have to consume utilities. There's
Yep.
no way around it. So, one of the things we like to kind of wrap our podcast up with is, we talked about utilities and we talked about some solutions. Thinking ahead, like you're in the space, you've been in the space for over 20 years. What are you seeing, or what are you seeing as some of the things that are going to be coming up in the future?
I mean, the future's here. Okay, let's.
Yeah.
The future started a couple years ago when the conversations about data center and artificial intelligence, came to light.
Mhm. Okay.
What people don't realize is just how data centers and artificial intelligence consume energy. I mean, the consumption required to kind of run all these, you know, algorithms, all these different, learning environments is massive,
Okay.
right? And a lot of people don't realize, they make this assumption you turn on the power and it's always going to be there, right? A lot of people
Right.
don't realize, well, what it takes to get that power to the utility, then got it to you as the customer, right? The reality is that we do not have enough energy to meet the demand that is coming. And that's a scary thought.
Like on what scale don't we have enough?
I mean, we are very short power, right? There are not enough power plants, there are not enough assets generating energy to meet all the demand, right? It's going to require a significant upgrade and construction of new power plants to meet all this demand that's coming,
Oh wow.
which means that costs are going up. And as anybody who's, it's economics, supply and demand. I think you learned that
Yeah.
in economics 101. As you have more demand than you do supply, well, what happens to prices? They go up, right? So this new frontier of AI and data center, it's exciting, but man, it's scary when you start
Just
to
over there.
realize
You mean scary because of the so it, I was
scary in
listening
terms
to,
of scary in terms of what it means from an energy perspective. Because an end
yeah,
use customer, I don't care if you're an end use customer and you don't use AI or whatever, it's indifferent. You're still connected to the utility systems that are
correct.
supporting this demand, which means that you as the customer, guess what?
You're gonna be
You're
paying.
now part of the solution to the problem, which is you're going to have to start paying to help manage and control this new demand growth.
Well, there's this conversation about the data center going up in, what is it, Denver or Utah, right? Like
Utah,
this
yep.
massive, and you know, there's this argument that they're saying, well, it really doesn't increase, but I guess somebody looked under the hood and they're like, well, they basically said all the residents of this community, your rates will be going up. But the common good of what this data center is going to do, you should be okay.
Should we
So
offset
there,
that? Yeah.
so there is some truth to that. Then that yes, data centers and the people that live in those surrounding areas, and then even outside of there, you're going to be paying more for their consumption.
You're going to feel the impacts. And I know a lot of people are talking about, oh, that, you know, we're going data centers are going to pay their own way. Okay. In order to kind of push through all the legislation, push through stuff, I mean, it's like any bureaucracy. You know, you have
Yeah.
public utility commissions that exist. You've got, you know, state, federal governments that exist. I mean, it sounds great in theory, but it's not reality.
No.
And it's not something that is going to happen snapping your fingers.
Well, yeah. I mean, so we have data centers going up at a certain rate. We don't have the production of utilities going up at the same rate. There's a
And
huge
also
disparity.
you also have very antiquated utility systems, right? So now all this new demand growth that is going across infrastructure that is so aged, right? So now you have a new risk. What
Hmm.
happens when the energy doesn't flow? Because there's too much demand on the line, right? So now you have this operational risk that you didn't have before, but now you do, right? It's just another thing for businesses of all shapes and sizes to start worrying about and thinking about. What happens when the power goes down? What happens when you have I mean, like people in California, they're used to things like rolling brownouts and
Yeah.
blackouts and stuff like that. Well, what happens when that starts happening in New England and New York, in the Midwest, where this has never been a thing before, but now it's becoming a thing, right? So again, when I say scary, I mean that there's a lot of problems that end use customers of all shapes and sizes are now going to be exposed to that they never had to worry about before.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you're a business owner, you should be concerned. And you know, it's one of those things you need to be proactive about it. You can't try and fix the problem as the problem's right in your doorstep, right? It's like I need to start thinking like chess. I need to start thinking 3 to 4 steps ahead, how I can be managing my risk a little bit better.
It's interesting. It's an interesting way to end the podcast because I think everyone, you know, we've all asked for this level of technology. Again, don't care if you use it a lot, don't care if you use it a little bit, but we've all asked for it. And we're going to start seeing that all of that comes at a cost.
Yes, I mean that. Like I said, it's one of those things where and this is kind of the funny thing is people just do not kind of connect the dots.
No. Well, because
Not even
we
thinking about it. You're
well,
taking it for granted.
we like our phone, we like
Yep.
our you know, we like our newfound toys with it, right? So I can just ask Gronk a question
Yep.
and Gronk will talk to me. Gronk will have a conversation. But behind all of that, there is a massive, I mean, they said, like, again, I don't know if it's true or not, but the consumption, like data centers 10 years ago consumed X amount of utilities. Data centers today are consuming a huge number increase of that same consumption, right? So
Yeah.
they're saying before it was, I don't know how they measure it, but now it's exponentially more because people are pinging it so much more often now than they ever were before. And people don't understand like those computes when you're asking chat to do something or Claude or whoever your AI, that compute request is a lot behind the scene.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't look like a lot to us because it's instantaneous. Ask a question, got an answer. But behind all of that, there's billions of people all doing the same thing. That compute in terms of utilities, and then there is some water aspect because the data centers
Cooling.
need to be cooled
Yep.
with. So do you now we're going to go off on a strange topic, but we heard about SpaceX and their IPO and the idea that maybe we're going to build data centers in space. I don't know if that's true. Do you think that that's even a possibility?
I mean, at this point in time, we're already sending rockets into space and everything. Would it, would it floor me to realize people are trying to put data centers in space or in the ocean or whatever? No, I don't think. At this point in time, I think
In the
thinking outside
ocean.
the box is something you should be doing, right? I mean, there's no, because of the demand that is coming. Anybody who is, who is a major operator or anything like a data center,
Hmm.
they need to start thinking about everything. And I don't care how crazy it might sound, but you're kind of forced to try and figure if you can do
Really?
it different or better. Yeah.
Have you heard data centers in the oceans? Is
Oh yeah.
that a thing?
They're testing some in Europe and in Asia specifically. It's one of those things that, because I'm in the energy world, you start to, learn about this sort of stuff. Yeah, people are looking at doing in the ocean and having the ocean waves and everything, driving turbines. I mean, it's really kind of cool stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
it's definitely outside the box thinking, but when you're in a resource deprived situation, if
Yeah.
this is this the direction we're going in, man, nothing should be off the table.
This could be like an oil rig in the ocean, but now it's just a data center.
Could be. I mean, you're already seeing that right now. For example, like in the middle of the country right now, you have a lot of data centers that are maybe a bit, Bitcoin miners and everything that are now
Hmm.
tapping into natural gas lines that are coming out of the ground, because natural gas, when it's kind of producing, or like, for example, more specifically, like an oil platform or an oil rig produces a lot of natural gas when it pumps, right? And a lot of times this
Mhm.
natural gas is just kind of flared off. It's kind of burned off. So
Yeah.
if you can take the natural gas that's being generated by pumping oil and direct that into something that can actually consume it, well, now you've made a energy generation source out of something that you 10 years ago you wouldn't even thought was possible.
Oh, that's
So again, there's,
crazy.
there's a lot of kind of creative things going on here. People are really just looking at anything and everything, and and that's kind of half the fun. But that's the landscape. It's changing dramatically.
Yeah. So, last question. Do you think we're ahead or behind other countries in terms of our technology for energy consumption?
We're behind. To your point, you're
Hmm.
you're in Europe. They they
Okay.
they take a they take a much stronger stance on things like sustainability. Right? They're being more
Hmm.
proactive. We are where Europe was 5-10 years ago.
Wow. That far behind.
Way far
Really?
behind. But again, conceptually, it all makes sense, right? You're in a hotel. When you leave the hotel room, I'm guilty of
Yeah.
it too. You leave the lights on, the AC on, you leave everything
Oh,
on,
yeah.
right? You're not paying for it. But
Yeah.
now you
Yeah.
start to realize that, hey, this needs to be our thinking, right? We need to be on the conservation page. We just discussed the reasons why it should be, but now it's starting to become a little more mainstream, right? Whereas
Hmm.
Europe's been there and done that already. So we're behind the times, so to speak.
Wow. Well, Andy, this has been fascinating, enlightening, a little bit frightening, maybe, to think about
Good.
where we're headed
I'm
here.
not trying to scare you,
Um,
Chuck. I'm just like, we just want to open people's eyes. That's the goal.
well, and I hope anybody listening that they reach out, because I think it's something that we do all overlook. We just assume it's always got to be paid. We assume that there's nothing we can do with it. And I think it's an opportunity for enterprise and small business or anybody, especially now with the way that utility costs have increased. Um, and again, it's not something that we can say, well, just don't use it, because we all need it. And I
Yep.
think some of these solutions that you talked about seem very simplistic in how they operate, but very impactful at how they decrease cost.
Yep.
And I would encourage folks. I'll have your information posted here on the podcast that they can get in contact with you. I'd encourage people to talk to you. I'd encourage people to just have a conversation about what's possible, because again, it's one of those costs that I think everybody is guilty of. We just pay it every month
Yeah.
because you can't not pay it. If you don't, it gets shut off, and it's very hard to get it turned back on. And so there is that fear factor. They got you, but I think it's a great opportunity for companies to think outside the box, to reduce some costs. So, Andy, this has been fantastically educational. Really enjoyed it. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy and doing a lot of things. So thank you very much. And everybody listening, thank you. And definitely reach out to Andy. Thank you,
Thanks,
Andy.
Chuck. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Bye bye
All
now.
right. Take care. Bye bye.